It was just another ordinary day in Cape Coast, where I've lived my whole life. I was on my way home from the market, carrying bags of tomatoes and onions, when I saw something strange in the sky. At first, I thought it was a plane, but it moved in a way that no plane should. It was fast, then slow, then it hovered. I stopped in my tracks and just stared. People around me hadn't noticed yet, too busy with their day-to-day business. As I kept watching, the object lowered, coming closer to the ground, far off in the direction of the old Elmina castle. My heart began to race. It wasn't just the way it moved, something about it didn't feel right. It was round, silver, and smooth, almost like the shell of a snail but shiny and hovering in the air. I rushed home, trying to make sense of what I had seen, but part of me didn't believe it. Maybe it's just a drone, I told myself, but deep down, I knew it was something different. Later that evening, my cousin Kweku came by. He was always full of stories, but this time he looked serious. He said he had been near the castle when he saw a group of men in strange, shiny suits near the beach. They weren't soldiers, he said, but they were inspecting something in the water. Kweku said he tried to get closer, but something in his gut told him to stay back. He said the men looked different, taller than anyone he'd seen, and their skin had a weird, pale glow. At first, I laughed, thinking he was exaggerating, but the more I thought about the strange object I had seen earlier, the more I started to believe him. That night, the whole town started buzzing. People reported seeing lights in the sky, hearing strange sounds, and even feeling tremors in the ground. The next day, everything changed. When I woke up, there was a huge commotion in town. The radio stations were talking about it, people were gathering near the beach, and some of the local fishermen refused to go out to sea. The reason? The water near Elmina Castle had turned black. Not muddy, not dirty, completely black, like oil. And it wasn't just the color. The fish were gone. Even the crabs, which were always crawling around the shore, had disappeared. Some of the elders in town said it was a curse, maybe a warning from the ancestors. They said we had angered the spirits of the slaves that had passed through the castle so many years ago. But I knew it was something else, something connected to what I had seen in the sky. Kweku and I decided to go see the black water for ourselves. When we got there, a crowd had already gathered. The air was thick with tension. The water wasn't just black, it looked like it was moving, swirling in slow, strange patterns. It felt alive. Then, out of nowhere, we heard a loud humming sound. Everyone froze. I looked up and saw the same silver object from the day before, hovering above the castle. This time, everyone saw it. People screamed and started running, but Kweku and I couldn't move. We just stood there, watching as it slowly descended. As it got closer, I could see more details. It wasn't a plane or a drone, it was something else entirely. The shiny surface rippled, like water, and the closer it came, the more the humming sound vibrated through the air. I felt it in my bones, like the earth itself was shaking. Suddenly, the object stopped, just a few meters above the ground. A door opened on its side, and those same tall, glowing men that Kweku had talked about stepped out. They didn't speak. They just stood there, staring at us with their glowing eyes. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, one of them raised their hand, and the black water began to recede. It didn't flow back into the sea like normal water, it just vanished, like it was never there. The men turned back to the object, stepped inside, and in a blink, it shot up into the sky, disappearing as quickly as it had arrived. Everyone stood there in shock, not knowing what to do. Some people fell to their knees, praying. Others ran to the nearest shrine to seek answers. But me and Kweku, we just stared at each other, speechless. We knew what we had seen, and we knew that it wasn't of this world. In the days that followed, the black water never returned, and the fish slowly came back. But the town was never the same. People still whispered about the visitors, as we began to call them, but no one dared speak of it openly. The government never addressed it, and the media stopped covering the story after a few days, almost like they were told to keep quiet. But I'll never forget what happened at the beach that day. I don't know who those visitors were or what they wanted, but I know that whatever they came for, they weren't done yet.